Usually we are doing all this, looking at the wildlife when we are on the field. You don't get much information when you are looking just at a computer. If you want to look at animals on a computer, you would rather watch Discovery, National Geographic, and all those kinds of stuff. But my job is to go out in the field and look at the organisms, not just a documentary on a TV screen. All right. So there may be many more people who may be knowing more about the in this field than me, but this presentation is about my experiences in this Mumbai city with the marine wildlife of Mumbai city. Okay, so earlier I visited Marine Drive, Juhu Beach, Girgaon Chopati so many times, but I never looked at it from a wildlife perspective. I always used to think that it's brown water, ganda pani hai, there's plastic pollution everywhere. There must not be any wildlife because it was so dirty. But after coming in this field, I came through birding, but my friends were marine wildlife enthusiasts. So they took me to all these places and they showed me all these places. They showed me all these creatures that we have in Mumbai, and it blew my mind because I didn't expect in a plastic polluted, in a brownish water, to find all of these species. All right, so this is just a poster made by Green Humor. Okay, you can check him out. So you can see so many. This is just the coastal biodiversity, and these are just a few of it. We don't know actually how many of them actually exist in the oceans. All right, because we have brown water, as I've been talking about, and due to this brown water, visibility is very low. So scuba diving is where scuba diving karna hai. So people go Australia, Andaman Nicobar Islands, and all those places, right? In India, it's not possible. In Mumbai, it's not possible. But we come across these animals when they come ashore, dead or alive, many times. All right. So to understand the animals or the creatures which are found, on our shores, we need to first understand which kinds of habitats do we have. All right, so we have three basic types and there's one sub habitat. All right, so first one is the sandy shore, your Jew beach. All right, I'll be discussing all of these habitats in detail much later. Okay, so first is the sandy shore, your Jew beach, your Chopati, and all those kinds are sandy shores. Next are the swamplands or mangroves. Okay, the rocky shores, so basically you replace the sand with rocks. Okay, and the intertidal zone is a sub habitat. Okay, so intertidal zone is found on the rocky shores, okay, in between the rocky shores, but we'll be discussing them in bit of a detail later. All right, now if you are if you are already interested in knowing about these animals, or you are just a beginner and you want to go out, these are some of the places where we go to explore this biodiversity, and we take trails to create awareness about these programs. Okay, so first is the Haji Ali Dargah. Okay, it may be known as a religious site, but if you go to the rocky patches of the Haji Ali, one of the most amazing biodiversity hotspots is Haji Ali, just on the rocks besides the main dargah. Okay, next is the Juhu Koliwada. Okay, you just walk a bit ahead of the main Juhu Chopati that and you come across Juhu Koliwada. I'll be showing you photos of some organisms, and all of the photos which I'm showing you are taken on the shores of Mumbai. हम गूगल से नहीं उठा के लाए, except a few which are difficult species to photograph. Right, all of these organisms that you will be seeing now are clicked on the shores of Mumbai. Okay, next is the Priyadarshini Park, or PDP, as many people may have known it. Gorai is a good mangrove spot. Okay, marine lines. Okay, so marine lines, you may think, "Arey, marine lines mein kya hoga?" But once it goes low tide, okay, you'll see such beautiful corals, sponges, and animals come out that you will be amazed. Okay, but it's very rare because utna bada low tide is usually not seen in Mumbai, right? Next is Carter Road or Bandstand, Girgaon Chopati, which is continuation of marine lines, and the Airoli Flamingo Sanctuary. Okay, so it's a recent establishment, the sanctuary made to conserve flamingos, but in that idea only, the mangroves are also getting conserved. Right, so let's take a in-depth look at the habitats that we talked about. Right, the first are the rocky shores of Mumbai. Okay, so the name is pretty explanatory, that rocky shores means there are rocks everywhere, as you can see in the photo. All right, so each of the organisms need a specific kind of habitat. You can't just say कि अरे मुंबई के shore पे मिलते ही habitat, but in which habitat, because the organisms which are found in the rocks won't be found in the sand, and the organisms which are found in land sand won't be found in the rocks. Okay, so let's take a look at the organisms which are found in the rocky shores. All right, and let's learn about what they do in order to survive in these habitats. Okay, so on rocky shores we look at the intertidal zone. Okay, so intertidal zone is basically not a very complex thing. Okay, just imagine you take a bowl. Okay, you put it in a bathtub. Okay, now fill the bathtub with the water. Okay, so now everything is full. Now remove the plug and drain the water out of the bathtub. Okay, so your bathtub is empty, but the bowl which you kept in the middle of the bathtub will be full of water because you haven't drained the water there. So that bowl is basically your intertidal zone. So you can see it's you can see, hope you can see my mouse. Okay, so this is basically an intertidal zone. This puddles of water everywhere. Okay, so many, when the tide goes low, when the tide goes out, many of the organisms get stranded in these pools of water, and that's where we look for these organisms in this rocky habitat. Right, so the first organism that I'm going to show you, you must be familiar with it because you're, ship enthusiast, you know about ships. Okay, and this organism has cost shipping industry crores of rupees, and which are the barnacles. Okay, they someone's microphone is on. Can they please mute it? Thank you. Yeah, so the first one is the barnacles. Okay, so if you're a fan of Tintin, you may call it blue blistering barnacles. Okay, but they're not blue in color. Actually, except a few species, there are a lot of variety in these barnacles also, and they attach themselves to a hard object. So that may be rocks, that may be your ships. Okay, so that's why it costs shipping industry so many rupees, because to remove them is a hassle. Okay, and they do great deal of damage to the ships, and sometimes the whole ship has to be sent to the scrapyard because it becomes useless. Okay, so basically this part, okay, the nut looking like part is the main organism, and the rest of the white thing is its protective covering. Okay, so you can imagine how difficult it will be to remove the barnacles of ships or any substratum that it has attached to. All right, next are corals. Okay, these are hard corals. Okay, so you may think that this is not much, कुछ ऐसा दिख नहीं रहा है हमको, but this, because this is taken in the intertidal zone. Okay, we can't scuba in Mumbai. Okay, but I'm sure once we go inside the seabed, okay, deep inside, you will find huge colonies of these corals. The fact that a few individuals of these corals are found on the intertidal zone is an achievement in itself. Okay, so they are called hard corals. Basically, if you touch them, they are hard as a rock. Okay, so therefore they are called as hard corals. We have soft corals as well. All right, they are very soft to touch and they break very easily. Okay, next are the sponges. Okay, sponges, you can say, are the first animals that came on the face of the earth. Okay, they don't have brain, mouth, anything. They have nothing. They're just the simplest organism that you can think of. Okay, so they have very small, if you can see, if you can zoom in a bit and see, they have very small openings on their body through which they take water, and whatever food comes through that holes they take in, they eat it up, and they release it to this bigger openings which are found on top of these sponges. Okay, so these are the simplest. They can't see, they can't sense, they can't smell, nothing. The whole job is just to take in water, eat whatever comes through it, and release the water back. Okay, and these are very colorful to look at. My record has been red, orange, yellow, blue, this cream color, and such varieties of colors are found, and they look beautiful when you see them live. Okay, next is the pistol shrimp. Okay, this organism may be the most dangerous thing that you may come across while looking for this. Okay, why? If you have noticed, if the first thing that you notice is one of its tentacles, one of its pincers, sorry, are bigger than the other one, right? So this is because of its hunting technique. Okay, so what it does is it creates a bubble, okay, in front of its face. It creates a bubble and creates so much pressure in it that when it explodes the bubble, the temperature released reaches the temperature of the surface of the sun. Okay, and that's underwater, not even on the surface. Underwater it creates temperatures which match the surface of the sun, and I'm not kidding, it's a very studied mechanism, and there I think video on it also by BBC. So after this session you can go and look it up. Okay, they have uh,
Yeah, I
made this
definitely will.
documentary. Someone's mic is on. Yeah, so that's what it does. It's very dangerous. One time we were observing this crab. It was, medium-sized crab, and suddenly it exploded. And we were thinking that how did it explode? We didn't do anything. We can't see anything nearby. And it turned out this shrimp was hiding in the rock in which the crab was hiding. And this shrimp had exploded a medium-sized crab. Okay, so you can imagine the kind of havoc it can cause on that organisms. Okay, next are the crabs. Okay, there are a lot of crabs in the shows of Mumbai, and if I included all the crabs in this presentation, 2 घंटे तक हम यहीं पे बैठे होते. Okay, but we only have 1 hour. Okay, so I've selected my favorite crab from our shows, which is the maroon stone crab. Okay, the name itself is pretty explanatory, maroon, because of its color. Okay, now stone crab is very interesting. Okay, these are only found on rocky shores. Okay, जू बीच पे ढूंढोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा. Okay, so stone crab. Okay, so that signifies something. That's because whenever it feels threatened, okay, if I go to pick it up, if you go to pick it up, it will just curl its claws and pincers into near its body, so it looks exactly like a rock. Okay, many times we miss this crab because it's sitting among pebbles and हमको दिखता ही नहीं है because the camouflage is so good. Okay, so therefore it's called as maroon stone crab because it resembles a stone when it's threatened and it goes inside. So this is a very pretty interesting mechanism that the crabs show. Okay, next is the planaria flatworm. You can just call it as a flatworm. Okay, so now we know that life on earth was began in the oceans, in the water, right? So there must be something which lived, which came from sea to the land, right? So these are one of these organisms which I like to call, which are called as the evolutionary intermediates. Okay, so like they are not birds also, they are not mammals also, they are like birds and mammals both. So this organism is one of them. Okay, shows, okay, the shows are the best place to look at evolution. So if when you are looking at this organism, you are looking back in time to millions of years. Okay, this flatworm is called a flatworm for a reason. This is the intermediate between a unicellular organism and a multicellular organism. Okay, we are multicellular. If you know amoebas, amoebas are single cell. They only have a single cell. Okay, now this flatworm only has one layer of cell. Okay, it's not उसमें ऐसा stack नहीं है cells. It's just one single layer of cell. So it's an intermediate between unicellular. So there are multiple cells, but it's just a single layer. Okay, so we have evolved from probably this organism. Okay, so you are basically looking at your ancestor. Okay, so shore is the best habitat to look at evolution, to go back in time, because it's a place between the land and the sea. Okay, we'll be looking at more this intermediates in the further slides. Okay, so these are just few of these organisms which survive on this rocky habitats. And now we are moving on to Juhu Beach. Okay, अब हम Juhu Beach पे जा रहे हैं. ये हम हाजी अली दरगाह पे थे in the rocky habitat. Now we are going to Juhu Beach, which are the sandy shores. Okay, now you may think नहीं ये हमको उल्लू बना रहा है. Juhu Beach पे तो हम जाते इतने बार, we don't see anything, right? That's because 90% of the organisms which live on sandy habitat live underground. They live under the sand. Okay, so you have to dig out the sand and then you have to take them out to observe them. Only in rare cases do they come out and we get to see them on the shore itself without digging. Okay, so this is because these organisms require water. Okay, they require moisture, and on sand you can't find them, so they go underground where the water is present. Okay, so let's take a look at few of these organisms which are found on the sandy shores. Okay, the first one is the starfish. Okay, so we have starfish. Okay, ye kahi aur ka photo nahi hai, this is taken in Mumbai itself. Okay, this was taken in Juhu Koliwada, which I was talking about. Okay, so this starfish was present exactly at the boundary between the rocky shores and the sandy shores. So there are a few littered rocks here and there, but otherwise it's sand. Okay, and as you all know, starfish do not have brains. Okay, and they have regenerative properties. That means unka ek arm cut gaya, so they can regrow another arm. So we have starfish on our shores. Okay, this is not some outside photo. Okay, next is the polychaete worm. Okay, or you can call it as the bristle worm. Okay, the bristle you can see here. Okay, you may call it as the legs of the worm, but they are not legs. Okay, those are bristles. Okay, now we saw flatworm, which was an evolutionary intermediate, right? It was intermediate between unicellular and multicellular. Okay, this is another organism which is a part of evolution. Okay, an intermediate between the tube worms which are found in the ocean and the centipedes and millipedes which are found on land. Okay, you may be aware of those black and yellow centipedes that come out in the monsoon season, right? This is their ancestors. Okay, so if you look at the legs, they are not proper legs. They can't use the legs very properly. These are bristles. Okay, so these bristles they use for movement, but not they are not very efficient in it. So it's an in between of those tube worms. Okay, tube worms do not have any legs. Okay, they just move like earthworms. Okay, so they do not have any legs. This has bristles, and then they have millipedes and centipedes have properly formed legs. Okay, so and one more very interesting thing about this particular worm is you may be aware that there are volcanoes under the ocean, right? Thermal vents, volcanoes under the ocean. So that's very toxic for any organism to survive in. Okay, but this polychaete worm is able to survive in those temperatures and toxic environment. Okay, there have been many species which have been reported to found inside these thermal vents where the temperature is very high, where those hydrogen sulfide gases come out and all those gases, this organism survives in those habitats. Okay, so they are studied upon right now and we find them very commonly on our shores of Mumbai. Next is the porcelain crab. Okay, now porcelain crab, the name is given because first of all it's very beautiful to look at, right? Green eyes, bright red body. Okay, the name porcelain is given because the porcelain cutlery that we have. Okay, what happens when you drop it? It breaks very easily, right? If you just pull it also, it will break, the porcelain cutlery. So similarly, if some predator comes to pick on this crab, okay, or comes to take this crab, it will simply break off its legs and those pincers that it have very easily, and it will grow them back. So because of its ability to remove its legs and pincers so easily, it's called as the porcelain crab. Okay, so the name is crab. Okay, porcelain, I've explained the porcelain portion. Okay, the next thing is crab. But the truth is, this is not a crab. Okay, it's a false crab. Okay, if you notice very carefully, it has antennas, right? You can look at my mouse. Okay, it has antennas. Crabs do not have antennas. But if you are enthusiast of seafood, or if you eat seafood, you may be knowing what has antennas and which is the lobster, right? So this particular crab, the porcelain crab, is sort of an in between of a crab and a lobster. Okay, we can't confirm whether they are evolutionary similar. Yeah, so we can't confirm whether this is a part of the evolution, but we know that this is like a mixture of crab and lobster, because crabs do not have antennas and this guy has. Okay, and it's very beautiful to photograph at, as you can see in the photo, right? Now, if you are knowing ships, many of you here are ship enthusiasts. The name may be similar to you, the Portuguese man of war, right? So that's because this is a jellyfish, okay, the Portuguese man of war. The name comes from an 18th century, Portuguese warship, okay? That time they had sails in their ship, okay? So when this jellyfish is floating on the surface of the water, the scientist who found him, he thought that it resembled the sails of those Portuguese warship, which was called as man of war. Okay, so he named this organism as Portuguese man of war, and we are still using it to this day. Okay, so and these are very venomous. Okay, so if it stings you, तो तुम लोग वहीं पे नाचने लगोगे. And in places such as Australia, this jellyfish has been the cause of death in many people. Okay, because once they are stung by this jellyfish, they are unable to swim and they drown. Okay, the poison of the jellyfish won't kill you, but if when you are not able to swim, you will drown and you will die. Okay, so these are found on Mumbai shores as well. Okay, next is the sea anemone, right? Sea anemones, you all must be knowing. Finding Nemo, everyone has seen. Okay, so sea anemone again are venomous. Okay, so the
All
tentacles
these are
that you see,
microorganisms in the sea.
the micro, no, that you have to look to the microscope. We have to collect water samples and we have to look to this microscope and all this stuff. So this sea anemones we find in our shores of Mumbai, huge and colorful ones, as you can see here, and you can see Sefi Hospital in the background. So this was taken at Girgaon Chopati, right? So these tentacles of the sea anemone are venomous. They have venom in them. Okay, so whenever a fish passes by, they are harmless to humans. Okay, if you touch it, हमको कुछ नहीं होगा. Okay, so whenever some small fish or its food passes through these tentacles, they become paralyzed or dead. Also depends on the size and which species just walked into the tentacle, and they become paralyzed, and then this anemone just closes itself. This is an open one. Okay, the photograph is of open one, and it just closes itself and engulfs the food, the fish food, whatever comes from it. Okay, but one fish which you all must be knowing has been able to survive from this venom of the sea anemone, and which is the clownfish, or as we all know it as Nemo. Okay, so Nemo, or the clownfish, the white and orange fish, lives inside of the sea anemones, and they are not affected by the venom of the sea anemone. Yeah, the next is the corner snail. Okay, a very colorful snail to look at. But whenever I am on the trail, I have always tell one rule to all of the people I'm with: the more beautiful it looks in nature, the more dangerous it is. Okay, sea anemones we all like, they are very venomous. Okay, although not to us, but to other organisms. This Kona snail has the ability to kill us. Okay, Kona snail are highly venomous in nature. Okay, they have a sting in their body, and their food is big fishes. Okay, so what it does is it attaches itself to the fishes and injects the venom in the fish, and the fish will eventually die. Okay, and this snail can easily feed on the fish then. Okay, on the rotting fish. Okay, so don't go by the appearance. Acha dikha, it's very colorful to look at, utha liya. And the next thing you know, you are stung by this snail. Okay, although they are very rare to find on Mumbai shores, that is the live one, we regularly find their shells. Okay, but the live one is very difficult to find on our shores. Okay, but I'm sure they are living underground. Okay, because most of these organisms live under the sand. Okay, next is the octopus. Okay, this is like the star of our shows of Mumbai. Okay, we do have octopuses on our show. Okay, so octopus, we all know they have multiple hearts, brains, and all those stuff. And these octopuses are found on rocky habitat. But the thing is, they're found hidden in the sand, which is found in the rocky habitat. So it's an inhabitant of the sandy shore. Okay, it's just taken protection in the rocks because the tide has gone and this poor fellow has been stranded on the tide pool. Okay. Okay, so we have talked about rocky shores, and we have talked about the sandy shores, and these are just few of my favorite organisms that I have put in the presentation because of time constraints. Okay, and the next part we move on to are the mangroves of Mumbai. Okay, this may be one of the most important habitats that we have in our city. Okay, so here is a map of all the mangroves that we currently have. Okay, Vikhroli area, Versova area, right? By the way, my friend recently found a 6 foot long hammerhead shark in Versova. It was caught by a fisherman. Okay, so never tell anyone apne Mumbai ke waters mein there is nothing. Okay, hammerhead shark. Okay, critically endangered. It was found in by and caught by a fisherman, and we have, carcasses of whales and dolphins coming on the shores as well. Okay, so currently we are talking about mangroves. Okay, so let's take a look at few of the organisms that is found in these mangroves. Okay, and then we'll talk about the mangroves itself because it's such an important habitat. Okay, the first is the telescopium snail. Okay, so whenever you find this snail, you are in a mangrove area. Okay, this snail is a mangrove indicator. So the moment you find this snail, samajh jana you are in a mangrove area. And the name telescopium is because of the shape, because it looks like a telescope. Okay, so you find this snail, you samajh jana ki I am seeing a mangrove. Okay, I'm in a mangrove. Next are the hermit crabs. Now, hermit crabs are found everywhere. They will be there in sandy shores as well. They will be there in rocky shores as well. But we have huge concentration, huge population of them living on the mangroves, living inside the mangroves. Okay. Now, this hermit crab is a very interesting crab. Okay. So the shell that you see above it is actually made by a snail. Okay, hermit crabs do not make their own shell. It's made by a snail, and after the snail dies, the hermit crabs takes the shell. Okay, so imagine this hermit crab ने बहुत खाया, उसको खाना मिल गया. Okay, it's full, and now it grows in size. Okay, as do we grow in size. Okay, now the shell is too small for it. Okay, so what it will do is it will come out of the shell and it will search for some other bigger shell, and then it will go inside that shell. Then it will eat again, start eating again, it will grow bigger, and once again it will become too big for the shell, and it will again come out and search for another shell. Okay, so the huge shells that you see, there are such big hermit crabs also present in Mumbai. Okay, so it's a very interesting behavior of this hermit crabs. Okay, they do not make their own shell, and they do not kill the snails also. So you may be thinking it removes the snail and then takes the shell. It takes the shells of dead snails. Okay, next is the fiddler crab. Okay, we talked about one maroon stone crab earlier. Now we are talking about another one, which is the fiddler's crab. Okay, the first thing that you notice is, अरे इसका दूसरा पिंसल किधर है? Okay, there is only this one big one, and where is the other one? Okay, so the other one is actually very, very, very small. Okay, so you can't even properly see that other one, and it has this singular very big, which is almost the size of its body. Okay, So that pincer, you may think that इधर इतना बड़ा pincer क्यों है उसको? So that's because it has to show off. Okay, so when two males are fighting for a burrow, okay, these crabs live underground in burrows. Okay, so when one male, okay, comes to threaten कि तेरा burrow में ले लेगा, so this shows off its pincer. That look at the size of my pincers. Okay, and again, once again, these crabs are very easily able to throw away its bigger pincer. Okay, just the bigger pincer, not unlike the other one, which can remove every part of its body. This can only remove this big one. Okay, so that's because it's too big for them. So imagine a crow or a seagull coming to feed off it, and it can't run very fast. So what it will do is it will remove the bigger part of the pincer and it will run. So that crow will get the pincer and it will focus on this, and this will fatafat go inside the burrow. Okay. Next are the mud skipper. Again, like I talked about, that you will find evolutionary intermediates. This is many times called as amphibious fish. Okay, a fish which is an amphibian. Okay, so you can see it has gills, right? You can clearly see the gills here, right? Now gills is a characteristic of fishes have gills, nothing else has gills. But what happens when it comes on land? Okay, because tide to chale jayega, then what will this guy do? Okay, it breathes through its skin. Okay, the skin that you see, breathes through that, and that is a characteristic of an amphibian. Okay, so mud skippers are said to be, like an intermediate between amphibians and a fish. Okay, and in October, around the month of October, okay, they do their territorial display. Okay, so they like claim that no, I am bigger for females, right? So what they do is they jump in the air and they clash with each other mid-air. Okay, and that's a sight to behold. And many of the photographers, if you go near this mangroves area in the month of October also, they'll just be like sitting there with a camera and just wait for one of these mudskippers, two of this mudskipper to come in the air and bang, because they create a very good photos. Okay, so this is another one of these evolutionary intermediates. Okay, next we have snakes in our oceans. Okay, usually they don't come on shores. Okay, they are found inside the water only, but what happens is many times they get caught in the net of the fishermen, and then the fishermen bring their catch on shore, and that's when they are discarded back into the ocean. They are killed also many times. Okay, but most fishermen release them back into the sea. Okay, each and every one of the snakes which are found in the ocean are venomous. Okay, एक भी exception नहीं है. Okay, all of them are highly venomous. If they bite you, you are gone. Okay, and that's the case with other organisms as well. 70% of the organisms which are found in oceans, okay, overall in the oceans, are venomous. Okay, some may be harmful to us, some may be not. Okay, but they have venom or poison in them. Okay, so these are some of the few, marine life that are found on mangroves. Okay, so I said that mangrove is a very important habitat that we should look into, and that's because it's the nursery of life. Okay, so if you are again a seafood enthusiast, हमको prawns चाहिए, fishes चाहिए, so you should be the one who should be advocating for their conservation, because your prawns, your fishes, and even sharks, the pelagic animals, pelagic basically means open water or the deep sea creatures, they come to these mangroves in order to lay eggs, because the roots of these mangroves provide protection to their eggs from big predators and such. Okay, so here you can see a shark swimming in this mangroves. Okay, now shark is a pelagic fish. It's found in open waters, but here you can see it swimming in the mangroves, maybe because it has come to lay eggs. Okay, so your prawns, your birds, your even some mammals which we'll talk about in later slide, all of these animals they come to this mangrove to lay their eggs. Okay, so it's very important for their population to survive. They need mangroves, because agar open water mein, if they lay their eggs, then maybe the tide will destroy their eggs, because the eggs are very delicate. So maybe the tide will destroy it, or maybe some predator will eat it. Okay, or maybe the tide goes so low that it will come out of water and it will die of dehydration. Okay, and we all know the heat which is there in Mumbai. Okay, so it won't take much time for them to dry up. So mangrove is the nursery of life. Okay, and you'll be proud to know that Maharashtra government is the first government to have an official mangrove tree. You know, like the official state bird of Maharashtra is the pigeon. Okay, the yellow-footed green pigeon, not the pigeon that you see outside your window. The yellow-footed green pigeon, or the state or the country bird of India is peacock. Okay, in similar way, we have a mangrove as a official tree in Maharashtra. Okay, so we face a lot of problems. Okay, so that I will like to show you through a short 6 episode series, just like the Star Wars. Okay, so let's move on to episode 1, which is the plastic menace. Okay, so plastic, if you go jogging in Mumbai early in the morning, okay, you would know plastic kitna hai Mumbai mein. So the BMC does a good work. They clean Juhu Beach 3 times a day. Okay, one in afternoon, one in the morning, and one at night. That's why it looks so clean right now. Okay, but imagine if they didn't clean it, and what about the other parts of the shores? Okay, and plastic is not something which just harasses the city, but also deep jungles, the shores, and I'm sure it's found in the ocean bottoms as well. Okay, next is the attack of the cons. Okay, now what I mean by this is mangroves many times are seen as wastelands. Okay, are ya to kuch nahi hai, these are just mangroves. Okay, and they chop them off. Okay, they are portrayed as something of a garbage dump. Okay, they are nothing of importance. Okay, because many of the species, like I talked about, are underground, or they come towards this mangroves when the water comes in. Okay, so they come and say that Arey, nahi, nahi, this is a wasteland and we can easily build something here or create something here. So many mangroves, if you look at Versova itself, or Lokhandwala itself, it's made up of when mangroves are being cut. Okay, वो जो सब building complex वो सब है, there used to be mangroves there. Okay, but now there are buildings there. Okay, next, what happens when you cut mangroves? Okay, if you studied Newton's third law, then you would know what happens to every action. There is an equal and opposite reaction. Mumbai floodings, the best example. Every single year we have floodings in Mumbai, and that's because we are losing mangrove cover. Okay, the more mangrove cover we lose, the more flooding we will see, because mangrove act as a very solid barrier towards this flooding. Okay, if there were mangroves, हमारे shore तक भी नहीं आता था this flood, the water. Okay, so when you cut mangroves, you will see an reaction, and we are facing this every single year in Mumbai. Okay, but now we are making a coastal road. Okay, through Marine Drive to Juhu Koliwada. Okay, every single one of these hotspots that we have in Mumbai, we are creating a marine road. And I'm sure you have been to Marine Drive. They have barricaded all those areas, right? So that's an issue, and we fought for it, but then this quarantine came. Okay, there were literally a line of people protesting on Marine Drive, in which I also participated. A line of people throughout, from Girgaon Chopati all the way to Churchgate, we had protested. There was a line, but still, due to quarantine, they went ahead with it. Okay, but uh, we have an hope. Okay, this marine field in Mumbai is relatively new. Okay, and I'm sure many of you recognize this place. Okay, this is the Marine Drive, right? You can see the Wankhede Stadium lights here, right? And this is a photo which was taken at a very, very, very low tide. And I told you at the beginning of presentation that we have amazing wildlife in Marine Drive, but the problem is the tide never goes so low. So this is one of the photograph which was taken by my friend Sarang, sorry, who went there when this tide was very low. So you can see how beautiful it is. Okay, you would never have imagined this while you were sitting on those pavilions of the Marine Drive. Okay, so this is hope for us. We have corals. We can see corals, octopus, so many other animals, on our shores. It's an hope for us. We have to fight for their preservation, right? Now then the beach cleanups. Okay, we fight for against cutting of this mangroves. I have taken part in those areka cutting usme and all those stuff. So it's because of the participation of people like you guys. Okay, just few people in the field of wildlife हम ही आवाज करेंगे तो कोई नहीं सुनने वाला है. But when the common people also protest, the government has to listen, the people has to listen, right? So we have protested, and all of this had a very positive impact, as you all know. And return of the turtles, okay, in Warsaw Beach. Okay, if you are not aware, okay, there was a guy who used to clean Warsaw Beach every day alone. Okay, or just with a few volunteers that he had, he used to clean Warsaw Beach. Okay, and there was a fruitation for his hard work, and that is the olive ridley turtles came back. Okay, they weren't coming for years. Okay, they came back and they laid eggs on the beach. Okay, so this is what we will lose if this mangroves go. Okay, mangroves provide a good protection to the eggs of this animal, of the turtles. Okay, so this is what we will lose if we lose mangroves and other such habitats to coastal roads and all those kinds of other development projects, the reclamations of land and all those things. Okay, so this is something very positive. Okay, in our own city, it's not even on outskirts, in our own city, in such an urbanized area of Warsaw, there were turtles. Okay, so now let's take a look at the birds. Okay, so I am a birder. Before I dwell into marine life, okay, so now my presentation won't be over without me talking about birds which are found in this mangroves. Okay, and mangroves is a very good habitat also to look for birds. It's not just they thodi birds hai karke, but it's a very good habitat to look at birds also. Okay, so you can see in the background there are mangroves, right? So, okay, so the migratory birds that we have, okay, the ducks, the flamingos, and whatnot, all the many of these wetland birds, basically the birds which require water, they come near these mangrove areas. Okay, to give you an example, Bhandu pumping station, okay, which has now been declared as a bird sanctuary. Okay, there are so many birds there, it has now been declared as a bird sanctuary. It's a mangrove patch. Okay, the your Airoli se jo view dikhta hai, that all is mangroves. Okay, you see flamingos, you see ducks, and all those kinds of stuff. Okay, this northern shoreline, then there you have your NRI complex. Okay, in seawoods, all those patches belong to mangroves, and therefore these birds come there because it provides them protection and food as well. Okay, so visitors from Arctic, this is the northern shoveler. Okay, so if you look at many of these migratory ducks or birds, you will see northern in their word. Okay, northern shoveler, northern pintail, and all those birds. So that's because they come from Siberia, up in Russia and Europe. Okay, that whole belt. So you can imagine the kind of cold there, and they come there to escape the cold. And if we cut the mangroves, they won't have any incentive to come here, and they will stop coming here. In fact, this year itself, the number of ducks we have seen has reduced a lot. Okay, we have seen ducks in a very less number as compared to the previous years that we were seeing. Okay. Next is the raptors. Okay, so when you go in this mangroves, you will find eagles, you will find hawks, you will find falcons, and then there's this osprey. The photo of this osprey that I have put this here. Osprey primarily feeds on fishes. Okay, so it's like the perfect habitat for an osprey. And when you go to any of these places, okay, you go to Bandu pumping station, you go to this Gorai, you go to any of the mangrove patches, you will definitely find an osprey. Okay, it's always there. Ospreys are always present. Okay, so it's an good place for the raptor too. And I have seen nesting of a spotted eagle on a mangrove. Okay, so they build a nest also on the mangroves. Okay, so it's a very important habitat. Okay, now these two birds which I'm showing you right now, okay, are found only in mangrove patches. Okay, for example, the telescopium snail that I showed you earlier, I said ki agar wo dikh gaya, then you are in a mangrove patch. Similarly, this bird, okay, which is the white-eared bulbul, will only and only be found in mangrove patches. Okay, nowhere else. तुमको forest में नहीं मिलेगा, not in some other wetland or some grassland, nowhere, just mangrove patches. Okay, so this is the white-eared bulbul, which is endemic. It's found all over India, but in India also they are found only in the mangroves. Okay, you won't find them sitting on some tree, okay, unless there is some mangroves nearby. Okay, they are only found in mangroves. And there's the other bird, which is the striated heron. Okay, that's also found only in mangroves, so much so that the other name for this striated heron is mangrove heron, because it's only found in mangroves. In fact, to mangroves ke bahar bhi nahi aata, it will just stay inside the mangroves. Okay, it's very rare to find this bird coming out of the mangroves. Okay, and obviously we have the star of Mumbai. The whole Mumbai city goes crazy in winter over these birds, right? Which are the flamingos. Okay, we have two species of flamingos which come to Mumbai every year, which is greater flamingo and the lesser flamingo. Okay, so both of these come here and you will find them near mangrove habitats only. Okay, the places which I told you earlier, which was the NRI complex, Bhandup pumping station, Airoli, these are the places where you see the flamingos. Okay, and all of these are mangrove patches because they provide this species protection. Okay, they provide protection for these flamingos. Okay, that's why they come here. नहीं तो नहीं आते थे. So when you cut mangroves, forget your flamingos also. फिर तुम्हारा 600 mm का लेंस कुछ काम का नहीं है. Next, we have a few mammals also. Okay, these two are the most commonly found in city of Mumbai itself. Okay, you don't have to go anywhere. I am not showing you Sundarbans ke photo. Yeah, the first one is the golden jackal. Okay, when you go to Bhandu pumping station and seawoods, you find them commonly there, the golden jackal. Okay, they are found there. In fact, my mentor has seen the golden jackal many times. Okay, and the next is the Indian grey mongoose. Both of these species live inside the mangroves. Okay, and many times what happens is they come on the road and they get road killed or at least injured when they are protected. But these two are found in Mumbai, okay, in the city of Mumbai. Just a national park and RMA, we have leopards, we have the golden jackal and mongoose in the mangroves. Okay. Next are the few sea jewels of the Mumbai coast. Okay, these are the sea slugs. Okay, now, like I said earlier, that if it's more beautiful, it's more dangerous. Okay, so basically, the colorful, the color, the bright color of the organism is basically a warning sign for predators that, I am very beautiful looking, but if you eat me, you will be left with a bad taste in your mouth. Okay, so these are highly poisonous. Okay, so don't eat them. Okay, that's my advice for birds. Okay, we won't eat them, that we'll know. Okay, and they are many times called as nudibranches. Okay, so nudibranches basically means exposed organ. Okay, so by what I mean is, if you look at this region, okay, if you can see my mouse, if you look at this region, it's their breathing organ. Okay, so you can imagine them as a lung of the slug. Okay, and you can see it's exposed, it's not inside the body, it's outside. Okay, so therefore they're called as nudibranches. Nudibranch means naked organs. Okay, so therefore they're called as nudibranches, and they are very beautiful to look at. But the catch is they are the size of my nail. Okay, they are so small. These are microscopic, like macro lens laga ke these photos are taken. But all of these photos are taken on the shores of Mumbai. So, just take a look at these slugs. Okay, so beautiful they are. Okay, this is Goniobranchus bombiana. Okay, this sea slug has been named after a city of Mumbai. Okay, Bombay, Mumbai. Okay, this sea slug has been named after our city, Bombiana, because it was first discovered in our city. And this is what we'll be losing if development projects keep going on. Okay, then there's the Cretina species. Alicia, these are only found in green algae, okay, on the shores in green algae. So you can imagine how difficult they are to find in this green algae, being green in color and just, very thin like an algae. Okay. Now, some of the threats to marine biodiversity, I talked about a few in the earlier slides, like the plastic pollution. Then we have the sewage disposal, improper one, okay, not treated, just जैसा आया वैसे ही सी में फेंक दिया, right? The Mithi river, which has now become a Mithi Nala, okay, it was, a river, a freshwater river, in fact, but now it has become a Nala, and you can, smell that dirty smell when you just pass that river. Okay. Next is shell collection. Okay, although very appealing to look at, we'll keep it as a decoration in our home. Okay, but like I told you the story of the hermit crabs. Okay, how they get bigger and they change the shell. Okay, so they won't have a home to stay if you take all the shells. Okay, and especially the bigger ones, because chote to kisi ko nahi chahiye. You want those bigger shells in your display. Okay, so what will happen to those bigger hermit crabs? Okay, they'll be easily plucked by those predators, because the portion which is hidden by the shell is very soft. Okay, that's why they require the shell. Okay, so if you take away big shell ghar pe, then what will these guys use? Basically, you are taking away their home. Okay, then again, many times I told you that this fishermen's catchment, there are a lot of organisms which they don't use, and they take and they just discard it on the shore. You can see this is the hook nose sea snake. Okay, so you can see it's on the shore, which is not its habitat. It's only found in open waters, but due to some fisherman catching it, it may have come on shore, usko fek diya shore pe, and they can't crawl back. They are not like the snakes on land. They can't crawl back, and many times they dry up. Many times they are killed by people, and all those kinds of, and they are highly toxic. So many times kids go to play with it also. And don't be fooled, although it can't move very properly on the sand, it can definitely strike back. Okay, so stay away from it. Okay, don't go to help it or something. Once the tide comes, it will go in with the tide. Okay, so these are a few of the organisms. Okay, all of these photos are clicked in Mumbai only. Okay, this is the octopus, porcelain crab. These are zoanthids, which are false corals, and this is the sea slug. All right, so I thank you all for attending today's session.